Alongside Gabe Kaplan, Matt Vasgersian, 8 poker tables in play simultaneously here at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, the home of champions. And at our featured table, Daniel Negreanu and Greg Raymer squaring off in single elimination heads-up poker. Let's take a look at the second round matchups in the Hearts bracket. Phil Lack versus TJ Cloutier. Greg Raymer, Daniel Negreanu. David Gray taking on Carlos Mortensen and Doyle Brunson, Sean Chacon. In the Diamonds bracket, Ted Forrest meets Chad Brown. Paul Phillips and Ernie Durack. Barry Schulman faces Sam Farha. And the Professor Howard Lederer against the Grinder, Mike Mizrachi. We take you now to our featured table, Daniel Negreanu and Greg Raymer.
She was laughing the whole time.
Looks like they're very congenial, telling stories to each other right off the bat. That's nice. No raise here. Both have diamonds. Greg's got the best of it with the king deuce.
Flop is 6-9-4 with 2 diamonds.
Both have flush draws, and Daniel's got a huge hand. He's got the flush draw and an open-end straight draw. He doesn't realize he's the underdog in this hand. He bet 600, and Greg just called.
Daniel pairs his 3 on the turn.
Daniel now has the best hand, along with an open-end straight draw and a flush draw, and he checks.
Raymer bets out 1,500.
Daniel's got the kind of hand that he could raise here with easily. And if he raised enough, Greg couldn't even call.
Daniel simply calls.
Well, we're going to go to the river.
And the river brings a flush for Greg Raymer.
And a flush for Daniel Negreanu.
Raymer with the higher flush, sitting on the king. Negreanu bets 5,000.
Greg Raymer has the second nuts here, the second possible highest hand. Only the ace-high flush can beat him. So I'm pretty sure he's got a raise here.
No, that was too quick. Are you serious? You made it? I get to show my cards, right?
If you wish.
That's the rule. I got a good hand. It's just not good enough, I don't think. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. 20.
Daniel did not expect to get raised when he made his flush. It's really shocked him. Doesn't know what to make of this hand.
I don't think I can fold, buddy.
Greg very stoic here.
Greg's given him no response, nothing to work off of.
Quite different than Evelyn Ing.
Call.
Oh, Negreanu calls, and he's going to lose nearly half his stack in the first hand of the match.
I just lost a big one.
It's not that often that a player loses that many chips in the first hand. Daniel's got a big swim upstream for the rest of this match.
Round 2 of the Hearts and Diamonds brackets underway, and on this featured table, a matchup of 2 players who dominated poker news in 2004 and have remained among the game's elite.
That's right. In 2004, Daniel Negreanu was Player of the Year. He won several tournaments, and he got the nickname Kid Poker. Greg Raymer, of course, won first prize in the main event of the World Series of Poker that year, taking home a cool $5 million. This should be a particularly interesting matchup because Greg Raymer likes to bluff, and Daniel Negreanu is known for his ability to read his opponent.
All right, let's get right back to the action at the featured table. This one got off to a rather lopsided start, and Daniel Negreanu is going to have to win some pots
15,000 on the river, and
in order to avoid the early exit off the Tuan Lee Highway. Negreanu on Queen 9 raises to 1,000.
Trying to get something going here. Greg Raymer's got a pair of 5s.
There's 80.
Just calls.
Flop is 4 deuce 9, a pair of 9s for Negreanu.
Daniel Negreanu takes the lead. becomes a huge favorite in the hand.
Raymer check. Negreanu bets 700. Check raise to 2,200.
Nice play by Greg Raymer. That flop really isn't scary to him. He's hoping that Daniel Negreanu didn't raise with an overpair and didn't hit that 9. Unfortunately for Greg, Daniel did hit the 9, and almost certainly he's going to call.
He does call the additional 1,500. Turns a jack of clubs.
That's another overcard that Greg Raymer doesn't like. He was hoping that Daniel Negreanu would give it up when he raised on the flop, but Daniel called. Now Greg is checked.
And Daniel bets 3,200.
This is a really tough call for Greg Raymer. Looks like he's going to make it. He calls at 3,200. Kind of surprises me. Only thing he can beat is a bluff.
Rivers an 8 of clubs, and Raymer checks blind. Surprises Daniel. Why do you even call on 4th Street?
Well, he's hoping he can catch a miracle 5 here on the river. Also, there's a chance that Daniel has ace, king, ace, queen, maybe even ace 3, and Daniel might not bet at the river, but Greg was wrong. Daniel bets 8,000 here. I don't see any way where Greg Raymer could call here.
Raymer folds, and Negreanu takes down the pot.
I hope it was a good hand.
Oh, it was a good hand.
I hope it was the best hand.
Oh, it was.
Since I didn't call.
Greg Raymer's fishing for a little information here,
Sure till the river.
and Daniel's giving it to him.
Well, if you weren't sure to the river, you had queen 10 or pocket 8.
No, I didn't have the nuts. But when you folded, then I was pretty sure.
You were pretty sure then, huh?
Okay.
Welcome back to the National Heads Up Poker Championship from Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. And inside the poker room, action continues. The Professor Howard Lederer on your left, battling the grinder Mike Mizrachi.
Wasn't that a Dr. Seuss story, The Professor and the Grinder? A long time ago in a land beyond the sea, the Professor and the Grinder.
Well, both the Professor and grinder with pairs here. Mizrachi with deuces, Lederer with 10s.
In his first match, the Grinder went to the Kingdom of Safe and beat the Earl of Safe, who was a wicked waif and thought he won when the 5 of hearts came down. But the Grinder prevailed.
Okay, are you done? Lederer's just raised to 2,500.
Yes. And the Grinder calls with his deuces.
Flop comes ace, 9, 8.
Let's see if Howard's going to bet here and try and find out if the Grinder has an ace.
He bets 5,000.
That's a pretty big bet. There's only 5,000 in the pot. Howard's bet the size of the pot, trying to find out if the Grinder has an ace. And now the Grinder's thinking, why did Howard bet so much? Maybe he doesn't have anything. Maybe if I raise him, he'll go out.
Instead, Mizrachi says, nope, no ace. He folds his hand, and Lederer wins the pot.
If the Grinder would have followed his instincts and raised there, Howard would have probably had a fold.
They call Howard Lederer the Professor for a reason. Along with his sister, poker superstar Annie Duke, Lederer teaches the finer points of the game at a poker fantasy camp, perhaps tutoring the next generation of poker stars that may make a run at him someday.
If Howard Lederer is teaching poker, you better listen. If he's teaching about fashion, I would ignore what he says. Here we see Howard and Mike Mizrachi sharing a few light moments together. Not a lot of conversation going on in this match.
Real hard holding back the smiles. King Jack for Lederer.